Holy crap. Oh my God. I'm telling you, ever since I came back from the bachelorette party and I had all those cigarettes and alcohol, whatever, and then I drank a quart of my chili juice, the new recipe, which both had both cabbage and kale in it. I have been going through exponential evolution. And so this is kind of crazy because what we've been learning has been finally coming together. And we've learned everything, compartmentalizing it and focusing on it. And we stick it in the back of our mind because we know, and I'm saying all of us, we know it's going to make sense later once we make all the connections. And so, I've been saying that, relative to your situation, everything that's out there that people are afraid of, it's going to either help you or hurt you, whatever's out there. Okay? It's going to help you or hurt you. And that's based upon your predispositions, your belief systems, your lifestyle, your practices. So, this thing with the salt. Salt is a conductor. Salt is energy. I mean, I've said it many times, and even in my book I talk about salt is a type of energizing force. But what are you energizing? See, that's really the question. And I've always said that you're energizing your predispositions, but that didn't really get to the root of where I'm coming from. We have finally now narrowed everything down to two absolutes. Okay? When I was quizzed and queried by the Federal Trade Commission on, and letting me know, first of all, asking me, what the hell I was doing, and then, and the OAG, but then them telling me there are no absolutes. Well, there are absolutes, life and death, but when it comes to cures, there's no absolutes because it just depends on where you are on the spectrum and your intention. But they didn't say that in so many words. But it really does come down to two absolutes, life and death. And we broke down what the two absolutes of life and death, what they represent in the human body. And so life is pain. Life is, I'm not saying that when you're living, you have to be in pain continuously. No. But when life is evolving, when it's being born and evolving, just like labor pains, when a baby is being born, there's so much pain when it comes to bearing a baby. And it's the most intense pain that I've never experienced, but I've heard about it, that men probably couldn't even handle it. So life is pain when you're evolving. Death is when you feel nothing and you are devolving. Okay? And so life is the prostaglandins, it's the inflammation, it's a certain amount of antibodies, not too many and not too little. Life is about evolution, it's about regenerating, and it's about learning and then adapting. Okay? Death is antibodies. Death is antibodies. And so this thing with the 5G, which I hear all these people, talking about 5G and then there's salt and 5G, and I'm like, okay, when someone does, I'm giving you an example of how 5G and salt can work to your benefit and work against you relative to your intention. When you're using salt and 5G, okay, to energize the antibodies in your body, then you are increasing the death trajectory. You are accelerating, you are energizing the death trajectory. If you're only using salt, you're not doing it with J juice, but you're only using salt, like saltwater flushes, or 5G, whether it's the intention to destroy someone or evolve someone, but that human bodies out there are devolving. People are believing in death. They're taking their antibiotics and their anti-inflammatories. They have a huge amount of predisposition. So when you're only doing a saltwater flush and you're exposed to a 5G, those energizing, those conductors, those electrical forces are going to energize your intention, which is to bring up more antibodies. Okay, and that's why you're seeing all over CNN and Fox saying, "Oh, we got to bring up more antibodies. We have to have a high titer type of vaccine." And so this is why people innately know that there's something wrong with 5G on really bad bodies, and why they innately know that vaccines are not very good on really bad bodies. But they don't realize they hold the key to evolution, that they can counter whatever it is somebody else's intention. And that's what I'm trying to get across, okay? But it's so difficult because nothing is bad in this world. It's relative to your intentions, your purpose, your predispositions, what you want out of life, okay? And I can't speak that for you, so it's very hard for me to demonize or promote anything except for the jelly juice, and then you'll figure out as you move through that process. So we know that the body is electric, okay? And then you break everything down to like a cell and the atoms and the neutrons and the protons and the electrons, and then you realize that the cells are based upon that, and then you have all these different elements, and the microbiome, biodiversity, then are the building blocks of the human. And salt is a conductor, it's what gives life and energizes your body relative to what you are putting out there in the forefront. If you are putting antibodies and antibiotics out in the forefront, all the salt that you take is going to energize all of the antibodies that you are honoring. And that's why you're seeing an acceleration in death, because everyone's focused on antibody accumulation, antibody acquisition. And I've said for many, many, many years, the last 4 years, that people are inducing so many antibodies, it's working against them, and they're not releasing the excess. And so if you're just doing a saltwater flush, what are you energizing? You're energizing your predispositions, and you're also inducing more antibodies because that is your focus. You're trying to create immunity. Immunity is where you have a systematic death to where then you're 100% immune, which means you're basically dead. You know, you don't want to work towards immunity. You want to work towards evolution. So when there's this 5G, okay, 5G, yeah, is going to work against people who have major amounts of issues, antibodies. Yes, some people are Wi-Fi sensitive. Some people are electric sensitive. And it's not, it's a real thing. But that's because you have so many antibodies in your body that that electricity is agitating. Okay? So the thing with bodies out there that want to evolve but they don't know how to do it, they have to feel the pain and back up that pain with the right chemistry. And so with the J juice, when you're using the salt, which is a conductor, it has the sodium channels. There's videos on my Facebook that talk about how the nervous system works and the electrical components that send messages throughout the body, and even your heart is through electrical impulses, and that's why they use defibrillators. And I do talk about that in my book about salt is a type of defibrillation and everything. But you have to have the right components to energize. If you're energizing antibodies, then yeah, you're going to see more accelerated degradation. But if you're energizing nutrients and prostaglandins, which are healing hormones, but people in the holistic allopathic industry are taking prostaglandin inhibitors, inhibiting that healing hormone. Okay, so when a cell starts to die, that's when inflammation comes up. Inflammation is the prostaglandins coming to surface trying to repair that cell. And then when someone feels the evolution, they feel the pain from that regeneration. What do? They immediately take some kind of antibiotic, anti-inflammatory, antimicrobial, anti-parasitic, antiviral, biotic, and then it stops the healing. It stops the evolution. And this is why the aging process happens in our society, because how in which you deal with the evolution process. And then the system makes a shit ton of money off of all of the people that are dying and reproducing, because as soon as you reproduce, your kids are going to go down the same road as you. Oh God, I have a pain here, I have a pain there, and then they're going to get some kind of medical system protocol where they're now having implants in their body, and they're taking their phone and putting it over their implant and say, oh yeah, I have 5% sugar or whatever it is, that these implants that are then attached to the apps reading off your biochemistry levels. I mean, that's how insane, that's basically like the AI, the medical holistic industry, and yes, Bill Gates is going towards, but you can counter that. When you're doing the Jilly Juice, the 5G is going to help energize the prostaglandins coming to surface. The salt is another another energizing conductor force. So is the water. And then you're energizing the nutrients with the cabbage and the kale, and then also the probiotics, the lactobacillus, the lactic acid. And then all of your microbiome is going to then be balanced out as you keep inducing evolution. You're going to feel pain. You're going to feel predispositions. You have to deal with the antibodies leaving your body when you're doing waterfalls. Okay, so the thing with the 5G, with the chili juice, it's only going to accelerate the evolution. Okay, and so the white salt is going to make it easier because the heavy metals in the pink salt were actually stopping the healing process. It didn't stop it all the way. People just plateaued on the pink salt. So that's when, and that wasn't what triggered me to change from the pink salt to the white salt, but my survival instincts, knowing that when you had this COVID and countries were shutting down, I was more concerned that we were not going to have the pink salt coming into our country because of trade whatever stuff. So I had to figure out how to locally get salt, and then I realized that the white salt was better. You got the minerals in the chemtrails in the skies, in your tap water, in your food supply. You don't need to have a heavy amount of minerals or heavy metals in your pink salt too, or in your salt as well. So the white salt is a major heavy conductor, and this is why it's so demonized in the holistic allopathic, because it's such an energizing force and it is a healing force. But the thing is that if you have so many antibodies, it will energize the antibodies, but it also will try to heal you as well. So it just depends on what is more prevalent. Are the antibodies more prevalent, or do you have enough minerals and nutrients in your body to go and help heal the body? And this is where it's like that catch-22. Are you going to roll the dice and see if you're able to survive the evolution process if you're just taking, salt and water in your food? But the thing with the J juice is it actually is backed by the right nutrition and the probiotics. And the lactobacillus can live in high amounts of salinity. And it's interesting, yesterday I watched really quickly, just for 5 minutes, this documentary about sharks, and these sharks that are in the brackish waters, they're more prevalent when there's a higher salinity in the water. Well, what would make a water in the brackish area, like in the coasts of like South Carolina or those places, and what would make it not as highly salinified or high saline or low salinity? Well, it's because the heavy rains, the fresh water that would then kind of dilute the salt, and so then the sharks are not as prevalent when there's more fresh water than there is salt water. So life flourishes in salt and water, and then the constituents, the things that are attached to the salt and the water, is then determining what will be your trajectory. Will it be life or will it be death? But yeah, if you have so many antibodies in your body that you're energizing, yeah, I could see where someone is afraid of 5G. You're absolutely right. But see, people on the J juice, you don't have to worry about 5G. Jeez. Okay. You're told playing this video. Okay.